This is a game that we actually got asked about even in the offseason. Like, even we were doing our live chat and our live shows during the offseason, we go to the end of our live show and we're saying, hey, what do y'all want to talk about? We want to hear from y'all. We want to hear from the people of the program. We open it up at the end of every single show and ask for questions. And we got asked, hey, who you got in Red River? I'm like, brother, it's March. I don't know. Who do you got in Red River? I mean, we got a ways to go here. We haven't even hit spring ball just yet. And so finally now the time has come for us to pick a winner for Texas, Oklahoma, or Oklahoma, Texas, whichever side you want to say first. No judgment here. But it is Red River. It is 12 Eastern on ABC. Texas favored by 6.5. And for Texas now, you look at the rest of their schedule. And not to say there's not still losable games on Texas's schedule past this one. You still got Kansas State. You still got TCU. Like, there's still some games for Texas that could present some issues. But from a strictly roster talent level for Texas, this is the last hurdle you look at and say, okay, they're probably in our arena from a roster talent perspective. Like, they got some dudes now that match up more or less equivalent to our dudes. Now, I'm not saying that they're exactly the same. They're built differently, and we'll talk about that. But Texas now, if you were to win this game, you look at the rest of your slate and you say, okay, boys, hey, handle business. We'll get to Jerry World. Probably have a chance to punch our ticket to the college football playoff in that game. And you start to think bigger. You start to think about hardware. And that's the thing that Texas has earned now by the way they've played to this point in the season. Now, if they lose this game, we talked about it on our one-off video yesterday on this very channel. A lot of volume gets turned up about, hey, old Texas, they beat Bama, but they couldn't beat OU. And Oklahoma, man, they beat them 49-0 last year, and Texas came into this game, and they were cocky, and they have bad culture, and they have this, and they have that. Like, all those narratives would start to bubble back up. People that have been waiting to say those things, they would then get the microphone and start to say those things to you and me. Now, is it true? I think one game, it's a stretch to make any definitive statement about either team. But understand, that's what people would put out there for clicks and for headlines and all that. So that's out there, but a huge opportunity for Texas in this game. Now for Oklahoma, I said it on my Twitter page the other day. Oklahoma has been the quietest ranked team in the country, and they love it that way. When I tweeted it out, I had a myriad of Oklahoma fans get in my mentions and say, JD, chill out. Hey, it's quiet for a reason. We want it to be quiet. Don't sound the alarm just yet, brother. We got Red River next week. We'll be on everybody's radar if we do what we think we can do in Red River. So just, hey, we appreciate that. Turn the volume down, and we'll let our pads do the talking, to quote Dan Lanning. They have a chance now to inject a ton of new belief into what Brent Venables is doing there. And so much of last year was kind of predicated on punchline culture when you talked about Oklahoma. And when I say punchline culture, we live in a day and age where the internet and memes and having tweets that are pithy and intelligent and funny, like that was a lot of what you saw when you looked up Oklahoma on different social media accounts. It was a lot of talk around, well, they went 6-7. Well, Brent Venables isn't Lincoln Riley. Well, they have all this talent. They can't do anything with it. And like some of that is fair. Some of that I think is a little bit misplaced because of how many close games they played. But if you beat Texas in this game, based on what Texas has done to this point in the season, with them beating Alabama, like you start to puff out your chest a little bit more if you're a Sooner fan. You start to feel like, okay, hey, this is a team now that is capable of doing what we thought it could do last year. There was talk around the college football playoff last year for Oklahoma. There was talk around the Big 12 title last year for Oklahoma. It didn't turn out that way. This year now, you beat Texas, you warrant a lot more of that conversation. And I'll just say this, if you beat Texas, I think you catapult yourself directly into the college football playoff conversation. I don't shy away from saying that. So this will be a lot of fun to watch. Cannot wait to break it down really quickly. For those of y'all that are tuned in live, and for those of y'all that are watching this as a one-off video, one, make sure you subscribe to the On3 YouTube channel. College football every single day. Had a lot of Texas fans join the channel. Had a lot of OU fans join the channel. We're glad to have y'all here. Get your friends to subscribe right here and to be a part of the program. We appreciate y'all in advance for that. So what does this game come down to, right? To me, football is a game of matchups, and the probably major matchup I'm watching within this game is the aggression of the Oklahoma defense against the poise of Quinn Ewers. Because Oklahoma, they have one speed on defense, baby, and it is all out. It's not all gas, no brakes. That's Texas' thing, but that's kind of the same way that Oklahoma wants to play defense to a degree. They want to wreak havoc. They want to get in your face. They want to force negative plays. It's not a defense where you just sit back there and say, all right, we'll let it come to you. We'll keep it all in front of us. That's not how Oklahoma gets down. And so when you do that, there are two things that can happen. The first is what you want to happen if you're Oklahoma. You wreak havoc. You create turnovers. Right now, Oklahoma is number 10 in the country with right around 2.5 takeaways per game. That's really good. They would like to have right around that number in this game, I promise you. Now, the second thing that's possible when you play such an aggressive defense, you leave yourself exposed. Hey, you want to blitz an extra linebacker? Well, there's probably a zone behind him that's open to throw to. You want to blitz your safety? Well, that's some real estate behind him. So you kind of have to play a little bit of riverboat gambler here if you're Oklahoma with this defensive approach. And so what I was talking about before with Quinn Ewers, you have to be extremely poised in this situation. Because if you're not, Oklahoma has proven they will turn you over, they will create more possessions for their offense, and they will have a chance to get some leverage on you in this game if you're Texas. Going back to Quinn Ewers, if you're poised, you can diagnose it, and you can handle the havoc, and you can understand what you're looking at quickly, and get the ball to your playmakers, well, then some big plays are going to start to happen. Then Xavier Worthy gets to pop. Then Adonai Mitchell has another big week. Then the run game can also open up because you're taking advantage and checking to the right play and being able to sort of use some jiu-jitsu here. You're able to just kind of take the flow of the Oklahoma defense, use it against them. Big play happens the other way. That's possible for Texas. But again, if they don't diagnose it, if they're not on their P's and Q's and Quinn Ewers cannot handle that extra aggression that Oklahoma brings to the table, like I said, there will be turnovers, there'll be negative plays, and Texas will have to find themselves into climb back mode in this kind of game. You'd like to avoid that if you're Texas. If you're Oklahoma, that's the world you want to live in, baby. So that's the first matchup I'm watching. Now, on the other side of things, for Dillon Gabriel now, him and the Oklahoma wide receiving core, I think, have a tremendous task in front of them. And that task is going to be against this box of Texas. Like the linebackers and the defensive line of Texas, they're really stout up front. And Oklahoma, as an entire operation, they are predicated on running the football. It's not the only thing they want to do, but it's one of the bread and butter elements to their offense. Like it's kind of what everything stems from. They want to run the football. They want to go with tempo. They want to have small gains and eventually get into rhythm and create big plays. And a lot of those small gains come in the run game. I don't know that will be as available in this game for Oklahoma. I think for Oklahoma, going back to this matchup, it's going to be on this receiving core and Dillon Gabriel to be able to soften up the box with the intermediate pass game. Like those routes that are right around 10 to 12 yards and maybe even a little bit less, to just get the Texas defense running a little bit, to get them off balance, to cause them to respect that pass game. Because if you get that going a little bit, then those linebackers are a little bit more slow to trigger. Maybe their depth is a little bit differently. Maybe those safeties have to play back just a little bit. Like overall, you just kind of mellow out the Texas defense, and then you can run the football. You get some more gains that way. Go back to that intermediate pass game, get some gains that way. And before you know it, once they respect that element of your offense, once they understand like, hey, they are going to just dink and dunk if we allow them to, then those big plays open up. Then there's some more money on the table to be had if you're Dillon Gabriel. Now, I think the subplot within this is the perimeter pass game. And when I say perimeter pass game, I'm talking a motion from your slot receiver, you're throwing the bubble. I'm talking a motion behind the quarterback from the running back, you're throwing that swing pass where it's just essentially an extended handoff and you're getting downhill. That's going to be something that, again, going back to the flow of the defense, you want to mess with Texas and have them go sideline to sideline and run back and forth. And before you know it, you can dial up the fake bubble go to Angelo Anthony or whoever you want to talk about there. But I think Angelo Anthony especially, whether it's the perimeter pass game, whether it's the deep pass game, I think he will have a very large role in this offensive attack for Oklahoma in this game. I think he's an explosive play waiting to happen. I think you want to get the ball in his hands early and often. He needs to impact this game. If I'm Jeff Lebby, if I'm Dillon Gabriel, get the ball to 5. All right, that could be a game plan for you. Get the ball to 5, let him work, let him impact this game. All right. Now, at the end of the day here, I think we will have a good old-fashioned battle up front, especially when Texas has the football. I think that's one of the keys to this game. Physical on physical. How you go big on big. Like that's kind of going to be a big ingredient for this game, especially if you're Texas. And the key for Oklahoma here how honest can you play Texas in the trenches? How honest are you able to play them? And when I say honest, I mean, do you have to commit extra resources? Do you have to bring in another linebacker? Do you have to bring a safety down? What do we have to do defensively to stop that run game of Texas? Because we saw last week, man, they are content to just lean on people. Like Kansas was not able to match the physicality of Texas, and Texas ran for over 300 yards, and Jonathan Brooks had 10 yards of carry and 200 yards. Like, that was how they got down. That was how they won. And when they were able to operate that way, it lent itself to some balance. Once they ran the ball that way, they could then throw the ball over Kansas's head. Is that the way that Oklahoma plays them? Are they able to have something on first down and are able to, force an obvious passing situation? Or is it a thing where Texas is able to live in 2nd and 6, 3rd and 3 because of what they get in the backfield, because of what they get from that offensive line? That's going to be crucial. Because if Oklahoma can withstand that, then you can pay some more attention to the playmakers of Texas, because that's really what makes you nervous, I think, if you're Oklahoma. You've seen the tape of Bama. You've seen the tape of everyone else Texas has played where Xavier Worthy's going deep, Adonai Mitchell's going deep, and they're just exposing big chunk plays, 6 points real quick. If you're able to play honest in that front seven, then you're able to have more attention on those big plays, on those playmakers that Texas has as a whole that can really make things difficult for you if they're able to get theirs. So I think answering scores in this game is going to be huge. Like, I think that may be the biggest part of this entire game for either side. If Texas gets 7, Oklahoma can't go get 3. It's got to be 7. And it's got to be a quick 7. It can't be, okay, well, two drives later they get 7. I think there's going to be a lot of points scored in this game. I think Oklahoma's going to score a lot of points, to be real with y'all. I don't think this is a situation where we look at the box score and say, man, Texas just shut down Oklahoma. Jeff Lebby, I think him and Dylan Gabriel are far enough along in their relationship together from a quarterback to OC standpoint to where they're able to, I think, maybe put more in this game and be a little bit more dynamic and show some things they haven't shown before yet on tape they can surprise Texas with. But I think Texas in the trenches is just different this year. We got to see them up close and personal in Tuscaloosa, Alabama. And they, at the end of the game, were the team that was imposing their will on the SEC front seven. They were the team that was just taking the air out of the football game and holding it. And they probably could have scored again at the end of that game. So with that being said, I think the offensive and defensive line of Texas are the difference in this game. I think the aggression of Oklahoma defensively pays dividends to a degree, but in the second half, I think Quinn Ewers and company are able to expose some things that this aggressive defense is going to try and do and just kind of get caught in. I think Texas ends up winning this game. I think the final score is 35-27. And for Texas, what that would mean now, again, you kind of clear that last hurdle, looking at the rest of your schedule and saying, all right, boys, a lot of games that are still losable, but all games that they will be favored in, all games that they have the roster to go and take care of business in. And if you're Oklahoma, you don't define Brent Venables by this game. Obviously, the way they look is going to be important for, morale in Oklahoma, but I don't think you just say, okay, this is what Oklahoma is. Brent Venables isn't the guy. Like, no, it's not the case. You shouldn't feel like you have to build at Oklahoma. That shouldn't be the feeling you have if you're a fan. But I think what Brent Venables is doing there right now is the right things. I think they're made of the right stuff. I think he's recruiting at an elite level as a whole with how he's built Oklahoma to this point. So again, we have Texas winning. I think it's a great game. I think the firepower of Texas and the trench play of Texas ultimately ends up being the difference. Hey y'all, thanks so much for watching. Subscribe to the channel here to make sure you don't miss an episode of The Hard Count. Also be sure to check out other videos on the On3 YouTube channel.